The world before Genghis Khan was not quiet, but it moved at a human pace. Villages woke with the sun, traders followed dust-filled roads, and empires rose and fell slowly, like seasons changing. In the wide grasslands of Central Asia, the wind whispered through endless plains, carrying the smell of horses and smoke. Life there was harsh but familiar. People survived by memory, family, and simple rules passed down through generations. Into this world was born a boy named Temujin, who would later be known as Genghis Khan. His early life was not filled with power or glory. It was filled with hunger, fear, and loss. His father was poisoned by enemies. His family was abandoned by their own tribe. Temujin learned early that mercy was rare and survival demanded strength. These early wounds shaped his heart in ways no one could fully see at the time. As Temujin grew, he watched the world with careful eyes. He saw betrayal rewarded and kindness punished. He saw tribes destroy each other over small insults. Slowly, a belief took root inside him: only absolute control could bring order. To him, fear was not evil, it was a tool. Loyalty was not given, it was enforced. This belief would later change the fate of millions. When Temujin became Genghis Khan, he did not announce himself as a monster. He spoke of unity. He promised safety to those who submitted and destruction to those who resisted. At first, his armies were small. But they moved like a single body, disciplined and silent. Villages fell quickly. Cities heard stories before they saw his banners, stories of walls broken, of people spared if they obeyed, of complete annihilation if they did not. The world faced a relatable problem, one humanity has always struggled with: how to respond to overwhelming force. Some leaders chose pride and resistance. Others chose surrender to save their people. Every choice carried a cost. Genghis Khan understood this deeply. He made examples of those who defied him, not out of rage, but calculation. Fear traveled faster than his horses ever could. As the Mongol Empire expanded, the numbers grew beyond comprehension. Entire populations vanished from history. Later scholars would estimate that nearly 40 million people died as a result of his conquests. But numbers alone cannot tell the story. Each number was a person who once laughed, worked, dreamed, and loved. Each loss sent ripples through families and cultures. Yet even in this darkness, there was calm in Genghis Khan's method. He believed chaos could be controlled. He created laws, promoted trade, and protected messengers. To his followers, he was not cruel, he was fair. To his enemies, he was the end of the world. This contrast is what makes his story so unsettling. The storm was coming, but it did not arrive with noise. It arrived with silence, calculation, and a man who believed the world must break before it could be rebuilt. As Genghis Khan's armies moved west and south, the land changed behind them. Roads once filled with merchants became paths of ash. Cities that had stood for centuries disappeared in weeks. The speed of the Mongol army was terrifying. They rode light, carried little, and struck without warning. News of their approach often arrived too late. For the people living in these lands, the problem became painfully personal. Do you flee and abandon your home, or stay and hope for mercy? Families argued in whispers at night. Parents watched their children sleep, wondering if dawn would bring safety or destruction. The uncertainty itself became a kind of suffering. Genghis Khan did not see these moments, but he understood them. He knew fear would do half his work for him. His strategy was simple: resistance would be remembered forever. Submission would be forgotten and forgiven. This logic spread faster than fire. Yet beneath the success, something subtle was happening. The empire grew so large that even Genghis Khan could not see its edges. The violence that built it began to take on a life of its own. Generals competed to prove loyalty. Soldiers followed orders without question. The line between strategy and cruelty blurred. There were moments when cities surrendered peacefully and were spared. People were counted, organized, and taxed. Craftsmen were relocated. Trade routes reopened under Mongol protection. For some, life even improved. This was the gentle twist of the story: the conqueror who destroyed also connected the world. Ideas, technologies, and cultures moved freely across vast distances for the first time. But this connection came at an unbearable price. The dead could not benefit from peace. Entire languages vanished. Songs were never sung again. Fields lay empty where children should have played. The world was quieter, but not calmer. Genghis Khan believed he was chosen by destiny. He trusted signs, dreams, and the endless sky above the pay. To him, the suffering was tragic but necessary. He did not celebrate death, he accepted it as part of a larger design. This belief allowed him to sleep at night while the world mourned. As years passed, even his closest followers noticed the weight he carried. He spoke less. He looked longer at the horizon. Power had given him everything, yet taken something unnamed. The empire was secure, but peace felt distant. The fire across the land eventually slowed. There were fewer enemies left to face. But the damage had already reshaped history. The world would never return to what it had been before Genghis Khan rode out of the grasslands. It is easy to see Genghis Khan only as a symbol of death. Harder, but necessary, is to see him as a human being shaped by his time. He laughed with his children. He trusted a small circle of friends. He feared betrayal more than battle. These details do not excuse his actions, but they deepen our understanding. In his later years, Genghis Khan spent more time thinking about legacy. He asked how the empire would survive without him. He worried that his sons might fight each other, undoing everything he had built. Control had brought him power, but it could not guarantee peace after his death. The relatable problem returned in a different form. How does a man known for destruction find meaning at the end of his life? He could not bring back the dead. He could not erase fear. All he could do was prepare the future. He ordered that his burial place remain secret, perhaps knowing the world would never stop judging him. He wanted no monument, no worship. This quiet ending contrasts sharply with the noise of his conquests. It suggests a man who understood, at some level, the cost of his ambition. The gentle twist becomes clearer here. While 40 million deaths define his reputation, his systems outlived him. Laws replaced chaos. Trade connected continents. The same roads that carried armies later carried knowledge. Humanity learned, slowly and painfully, from the ruins. Still, history does not balance scales so easily. For every benefit, there was irreversible loss. The emotional weight of Genghis Khan's story lies in this tension. He was both a builder and a destroyer, a unifier and a terror. As listeners, we are left with uncomfortable questions. Would the world have connected so quickly without such violence? Is order worth any cost? These questions have no simple answers, and that is why his story endures. Today, centuries later, the name Genghis Khan still echoes. It appears in books, documentaries, and debates. Some see him as the most brutal leader in history. Others see a visionary shaped by a brutal world. Both views hold truth. The emotionally grounded ending of this story does not lie in judgment alone, but reflection. The past cannot be changed, but it can guide us. Genghis Khan shows us what happens when fear becomes policy and power goes unchecked. He also shows how systems can outlast individuals, for better or worse. The 40 million people who died are not just a statistic. They are a reminder of humanity's fragility. Their absence shaped borders, cultures, and futures. Remembering them gives meaning to history beyond conquest. As the story fades, we return to the quiet plains where it began. The wind still moves the grass. The sky remains wide and indifferent. Empires rise and fall, but the land remembers. In the end, Genghis Khan was a man who believed he could control the world. History shows us the cost of that belief. And in that understanding, there is a chance, slow, calm, and human, to choose a different path.